and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a best-selling author, an expert on ESG and corporate sustainability, no other than Mr. Lee Stewart.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Lee, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Look, my name's Lee Stewart. I'm a sustainability expert. Spent over 2 decades working in industry, helping corporates understand and make sense of sustainability and incorporate what's known as ESG into their strategy. That's environmental, social, and governance. And spent about 3 years to put out this book into the world, and it's going really well, and it's helping work with my clients, embedding sustainability strategy, but also I've delivered presentations to schools, universities as well. It's helping hopefully lift the bar and help companies and individuals in those companies do more.
Mr. Lee Stewart, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world and hoping for more and more and more empowering books like this to come. And what inspired you to write a nonsense guide to sustainability in business? Why this topic demand a practical action driven approach?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of ambiguity out there when we talk about environment, sustainability, diversity, inclusion, social issues. What I really wanted to do when I was working with some clients, I wanted to really demystify it and make it simple and write something for the probably the first time I was seeing a sustainability book as a business book, not as an altruistic do good book. It's a business book about how you can actually use these are elements around environmental, social, and governance to actually help your business profit, and it was written in business language. So that was the key driver, was to help businesses understand the opportunity, but also help them give them a pathway so they can easily implement it and actually create value in their businesses by doing good.
Mr. Lee, what's the most pervasive misconception about sustainability in business that your book aims to dismantle?
Yeah, the main thing I find out is that it's costly and it's a waste of time, and our customers don't care about it. When I delve deeper with every client I've worked with and gone through the methodology that I've documented in this book, they find business opportunity, and it more than pays for itself in terms of branding, attracting new clients, designing new products, opening up new markets, even attracting more talent, and also lifting um, the whole motivation of your team to create a better purpose in your organization beyond making profit.
Beyond profit, people, beyond profit. How do you respond to leaders who still see sustainability as a cost rather than a strategic advantage?
Yeah, it takes time. There are a lot of misconceptions out there, and a lot of even political views that can be quite extreme or diverse. But what I do is I look at what their customers are looking at. In most cases, your clients who you serve for your products and services do have a lens on sustainability and will generally will care or have targets or trying to grapple with this issue as well. So I work with clients to understand where your money comes in and where the sustainability advantage can be aligned, and where you can help have those conversations with your key customers.
Very well said, Mr. Lee. Very well said. Beautifully articulated. For a business new to sustainability, what's the first actionable step you'd recommend to avoid overwhelm and build momentum?
Yeah, look, it's a big topic. So what I've broken down into my book is just understand some of the global macro issues and how they apply to your business. And it's just a short read of what does climate change mean? What is it relevant to your business? Things like waste and other things. But have a look at your internal first and understand where your impacts are. Do you have a lot of a fleet of trucks? Do you travel a lot? Do you generate waste? Are you impacting your communities? Is that a positive or negative impact? So have this little lens across your business. Once again, beyond the profit side of things, where do you impact in your supply chain, and what has happened if, say, if you manufacture products, what happens end of life, or those sort of things, and understand those impacts foremost. And from there, there's also opportunity. So you might be increasing waste levies is another thing I help clients reduce costs that way. Energy can reduce costs. Understanding your customers again can open up opportunities. So first of all, have a look at your own backyard first is what I employ you to. And that could be understanding your carbon emissions, your waste, your impacts on community and society.
Your book promised practicality. Can you summarize a key model or framework from it? It helps businesses
Yeah.
operationalize operationalize sustainability.
Yeah, and I really thought about this a lot, and I really tried to simplify this and make it very practical. So the idea, the book can be read in a weekend. You can ask questions on your business on Monday, Tuesday, and implement something by Friday. And really, it could be as simple as understanding your waste stream and putting a policy around that. But the framework I designed is very simple. It's three C's. The first one I mentioned before was confidence. So that's understanding what the global issues are and how they relate to your business. And that's a very simple read of climate change and waste and community side of things. The main one I really talk about most is the commitment. What do you stand for? So first of all, what I mentioned before was understand your impacts. Can you set a climate target? Can you reduce your waste? Can you look at your supply chain? What are you going to stand for? Then the final one, which is probably key, where I see a lot of companies let themselves down, is consistency, and that is the governance model. So how are you going to be? How are you going to report on this? How are you going to demonstrate excellence on this and demonstrate you're moving the needle in the right direction and keep it consistent, rather than a lot of companies I see will come out with a big sustainability report and then nothing else happens. So that's a big disappointment. So follow those three C's and you'll generally be successful in implementing sustainability into your business strategy.
How can leaders foster a company-wide mindset that aligns profitability and environment social responsibility as well?
Yeah, this is a big topic, and it obviously depends how big you are, how diverse you are, geographical locations, and so forth. But what I really implore on that final C is that consistency piece is making leaders responsible for their piece of the puzzle. So operations might be responsible for carbon emissions and waste. Your human resources department might be responsible for upskilling, training, being awareness, internal engagement, legal policy side of things. So it's desegregating the sustainability strategy across key leaders, keeping them responsible and keeping them honest, and they report to their piece of the puzzle of the overall strategy. So that's really key to embedding it across organizations.
Indeed. Mr. Lee, what KPIs do you advise businesses to track to measure the ROI of their sustainability efforts?
Yeah, the main one and the simplest one that I work a lot with is energy. And with energy comes emissions. So are you tracking your fuel from your car fleet or truck fleet, your energy used in electricity in the buildings, or your manufacturing? So are you measuring that? And then have you looked at energy efficiency? So you can implement some projects such as upgrading machinery. I've worked in these companies before where payback of the upgrade has been measured in days, not weeks, months, or years. So there's some of these easy opportunities there that could be had on your ROI. The other side of things too is I've worked with sales teams. So how can sales teams win more contracts, have better conversations with customers, and there's a value you can put on a deal which you work with in sustainability. It might be as low as 1 or 2%, or could be as high as 20 or 30% that was relative to sustainability. And that's how you can measure that in financial terms, the benefit of sustainability, help you win that deal. What's the attributes to that? And how have you helped open that account and have better conversations with your customers? So there's just two simple examples that you could look at straight away.
What's the biggest mistake companies make when they're trying to green, and how does your book help them avoid it?
Yeah, what I see is a lot of companies go out with a big announcement and they've seen the light. They say, yes, we're going to be sustainable. They might even hire a sustainability person or team, and then that's it. They forget about it, that there's just one person or two people. They cannot do everything. And and that to me is more a wasted investment. You need to look at organizational wide, treat it like a change management program, and embed it across different parts of your business. So be wary of the big announcement. You've got to back that up with solid work.
Solid work indeed. Again, very well said. Mr. Lee, very well said. How do you recommend persuading stockholders or stakeholders, investors, employees who receive prioritizing sustainability?
Yeah, look, resistance is normal. It's a normal part of business and what you do. And with sustainability, you can get even different views across the political spectrum. It's been very politicized, especially issues such as climate change. What I do in those sort of conversations, it's not about debating science and that's it, but it's more looking at where does your business sit in the wider ecosystem of other customers, other clients, and where do we see risk coming ahead and opportunity. So one key thing that we're doing, a lot of organizations and governments have legislated about identifying climate risks and opportunities. I focus on opportunities as well. There are opportunities that can be had with first mover advantage, building sustainable products and offerings. You can actually beat your competitors to that. So for me, it's trying to have that angle around the competitive advantage, understanding where your money comes in and enhancing that opportunity.
Mr. Lee, for businesses in traditionally unsustainable sectors like manufacturing, fast fashion, what strategies can turn constraints into opportunities?
Yeah, there's a lot of constraints in those areas. Where I see companies that operate the best, especially those with large supply chains like fast fashion and stuff, they
Yes.
understand their supply chain right from the very where the garments are made, from where cotton's made. And when you understand your supply chain from right from the grower through to end of life, you will identify opportunities for improvements along that route, but also you'll enhance livelihoods of people from farmers through to people that manage maybe the landfill, or you can find a second life for your products. I'm working with one retailer now that's doing great um, um, making great strides in reducing waste to landfill. That's now paying for itself because the landfill levies have gone up by 100% in the last 3 years. And they've got a great social story how they're helping communities with repurposing end of life products or product returns, giving them another life, helping out um, lower socioeconomic communities with products and goods and services they would never have access to. So these are that came from understanding the supply chain and where things go. So yeah, there's huge opportunities there, and I recommend everyone has a good look.
Repurposing people, repurposing. Mr. Lee, share an example from your book of a company that transformed its strategy by embedding sustainability that make it work.
Yeah, a really good one was Unilever, and they've got a sub brand called Ben and Jerry's, and it's something dear to my heart because it's an ice cream brand in Australia
Yes.
here. And they looked at understanding their supply chain. They've done things around carbon neutrality and so forth, and end of life, and working with farmers and dairy products to the point where they could use it as a advantage. And what they did, they came out with a really cool campaign, which was scoop our ice creams, not the reef. In Queensland, there's a Great Barrier Reef where they didn't want, they wanted to preserve and stop coal mining and so forth, which is causing coral bleaching. But they had a very cool campaign that resonated with the publics and so forth. And even they're offering politicians free ice cream that were
Mhm.
proactively trying to sell coal. It was a really quirky example of how being excellent in sustainability can actually add to a competitive advantage, great marketing campaigns, and so forth.
Indeed, Unilever. We salute you of what you're doing.
Thank you.
And Mr. Lee, how can small businesses with limited resources implement your advice without sacrificing competitiveness?
Yeah, look, small businesses, I feel for them. There's a lot of pressures on them. But what I said before is just understand your backyard. And it could be a very simple exercise of trying to measure your carbon footprint. There's some free resources in the Greenhouse Gas Protocol website to measure your carbon footprint. Just start with that and then see how you can make improvements around that. Also, have a look at customer conversations. Research some of your big customers. If you're supplying a large customer, especially, do they have a sustainability target, goals, strategy? How could your product or services help them? And maybe have an open conversation with them to say, we're looking at sustainability. Is there something you want from us as a supplier in the future that we can add into our product or service development that you'd like to see? That conversation could open up new doors for you and new products, services, revenue.
Indeed. Have you seen sustainability drive unexpected innovations in products, processes, or business models?
Yeah, definitely. There are dozens of these that have sprung to mind. I mentioned the one about the waste and repurposing end of life products into more valuable resources. What I do look at is where there's waste, there's opportunity. Where I've worked, even in large data centers around energy efficiency, I've done programs that have paid for themselves in days, but also managed to on sell that benefit of lower carbon emissions of data processing to customers and help them reduce their impact of their footprint because they moved to us. They were a lower carbon footprint of data processing that they could actually call out in their reports and so forth. So it's linking that customer again where I see the most benefit.
Mr. Lee, with evolving climate policies, how can businesses future proof their strategies to stay compliant and competitive?
Yeah, I think it comes when I look back at the companies I work with, those that are the reluctant compliers versus
Yes.
those that are trying to be the innovators go far poorly. So if you're dragging, kicking, screaming around this compliance, going, I don't want to do this, it's this mandatory stuff the government's making us do it, what a waste of time, you're missing the opportunity. Where there's regulation is a more than a leading indicator of where society's heading and beyond. So where I've worked with clients that have got ahead of regulation, seen it as an opportunity, they have to do this stuff anyway. They know it's coming. They got ahead of the pack and could have a competitive advantage. So don't be the reluctant complier. Understand this regulation is not going to go away. It's anything, it's actually going to speed up, regardless of what might be happening around other jurisdictions at the moment. I'm seeing it still continuing around the regulatory side of things. So embrace it, get ahead of it, and there'll be some advantages to be had, not just complying.
How should companies adapt to the rising demand of transparency and ethical practices from younger generations?
Yeah, look, it's a really big one. And I think before you even come out there with any claims about your product, once again, understand your backyard. If you're going to make a green claim on anything, I would strongly recommend some third party verification from an external source, a certification or a consultant, a specialist to say, yes, we've had a look at it. This meets these certain standards. Don't ever go out there saying you've solved everything because no one has. Be honest, be transparent, say, hey, we're going for net zero. We're doing all this ourselves, but we won't get there without a new innovation in technology like an EV truck or something like that. So we're going to look to pilot those in the next 3 to 5 years. Be honest and transparent and open about the challenges.
As a best-selling author and expert on ESG and corporate sustainability, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My short term goals is to get the book out there in the hands of as many people as possible. The longer term goal is I have to empower and encourage 1,000 new sustainability leaders by 2028, and the book is the key to that. I believe that the book in the right hands for the right person at the right time can make a big impact and shift the needle with the businesses that your listeners are working in today.
Indeed. And what would be your advice for those people out there who want to write their own book?
Yeah, look, for me, I'm not a naturally gifted writer. It was the consistency of it. It was setting time aside late at night after kids had gone to bed. I finished my day work. I set aside, it was a case of about 3 months from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. where I just smashed out that draft. And it was just chaining yourself to the desk. It was very hard, saying no to all the social functions that I got invited to. And there were lots, and it was very hard, but the rewards are far outweigh the hard work. And for any author, it's what you do on your own when no one's watching is is where you get the biggest benefits. And it's the hard graft on your own, and it is hard. but it is hugely rewarding getting a book out there.
Indeed. Good luck to your goals as well as your uh, many projects to come, Mr. Lee. And thank you for your advice. Which emerging technologies do you believe will most accelerate sustainable business practices in the next decade?
Oh, the next decade, I think the existing technologies around renewables is quite exciting, and what we're doing there, and the lower cost of solar and wind coming into the mix is very good. I'm very encouraged by transport. The electrification of transport is coming at pace that no one thought 5, 10 years ago. The EVs that you can buy now at a lower cost and so forth. I think that's exciting what we can do with transport, and not just for reducing emissions, but also health of our larger cities, the smog reduction and so forth. You know, millions of people die every year from poor air quality. Imagine if we could electrify all our roads, transport, private cars, trucks. That would be amazing to have cleaner air and also lower emissions.
Indeed. What personal experience or professional failure shape your perspective on sustainability in roles in business?
Yeah, look, I've failed many times. And one of the key learnings I've had was, especially presenting to the boards, things like a climate target and so forth, when they didn't really understand what carbon was. I was trying to get them to set a carbon target where I needed to
Yes.
step back and understand. So they weren't confident in what they were signing off on. So some of those lessons I've learned was trying to rush too quickly because there's a sense of urgency around issues of climate change and sustainability, but take a longer time, especially your stakeholders need to understand the complexities of it relative to their business, where they sit amongst their peers and competitors. Give them that level of comfort, take that time, and then you'll be able to go forward together faster.
Faster, people, faster. How do you stay optimistic about sustainability progress while acknowledging synthetic challenges?
Yeah, there are many systematic challenges with sustainability. Remaining optimistic is I spend a lot of time in nature as much as I can, go on bushwalks and things. I deliberately don't read some specific news sites that I know are just totally negative and anti. I do check on them now and then, but I don't watch them full time. And staying and really grounding it into your purpose. My purpose is very strong. Create 1,000 leaders by 2028 that would do great things, and that what drives me, because I have a strong purpose to impart my knowledge onto others for greater good.
And again, thank you so much for imparting your knowledge to the world. What's one lesson in the book that even seasoned executives find counter initiative or eye opening?
Yeah, I ask one key question in my book, and I ask it in the boardrooms as well, and in interviews when I'm trying to gauge the level of ambition of sustainability. And ask this of yourself and your business. But if your business did not exist today, would the world, the planet, society be better or worse off? And I really want you to think about that question, because in the answer to that question is your opportunity, your threats, and probably your weakness as well. But it really gives a pause to reflection, and then ask the whys. Why is it that way? Why would the world be better off or not better off? And understand that, because that's the core essence of your business.
Indeed. Mr. Lee, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, book 101 review in fifth season, comedy 101 in second season, food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 and love letters in third season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health 101, Movie 101 Review, and Music 101 in its fourth season, Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Lee, if you could leave readers with one habit or mindset shift from your book, what would it be and why?
It would be understand your impact of your business and what you can do about it. And once you do that, you'll have the opportunity to actually talk more about sustainability and use it as a learning exercise about your own business.
Mr. Lee Stewart, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. And we are hoping for more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book itself?
Yeah, sure. You can find the book on Amazon and under Lee Stewart, Leestewart, and the book name is How to Build Sustainability Business Strategy. Welcome all reviews and comments as well. Thank you very much.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Lee Stewart because if you support him, as I said, more and more and more best selling books to come. Who knows, become award winning too. Hoping for that, Mr. Lee. And Mr. Lee, thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thank you, Daniel.
Modicom people, see you soon.